Hello, awesome people. Today, we will be learning about conflict management.
Meet Dave. Dave is a marketing executive in a multinational company. He works late nights occasionally.
Meet Elise. Elise is a school teacher. She is passionate about her job.
Together, they make a great couple. Like any couple, they enjoy date night.
And, just like other couples, they argue too. These arguments are called conflicts. Let's look into the different styles of conflicts. There are 4 styles of expressing conflicts: non-assertion, direct aggression, passive aggression, indirect communication. Number 1 is non-assertion. This is the inability or unwillingness to express thoughts or feelings in a conflict due to lack of confidence. It can also be because one lacks awareness to use direct means of expression. Non-assertion can be expressed through accommodation, avoidance, or both at the same time.
Non-assertion through avoidance can be done physically, such as steering clear of a friend after having an argument. It can also be done conversationally, for example, changing the topic, joking, or denying that a problem exists. Non-assertion through accommodation deals with conflict by giving in or putting others' needs ahead of one's own. Non-assertion has its pros and cons. It is a good short-term solution and helps to maintain relationships. For example, you choose to keep quiet about your neighbor's late-night party. However, its drawbacks is that you may feel angry, anxious, or hurt, and you are in denial of your emotions.
The second type of conflict styles is direct aggression, which uses aggressive verbal messages and nonverbal communication to attack the receiver. In this situation, you may get what you want, but the consequences for the relationship can be long-lasting.
An example can be telling someone to shut up. But what I really meant was, you don't know what you're talking about.
Third conflict style is passive aggression, whereby a communicator expresses hostility in an obscure way. This can also be described as crazy-making behaviors. There are 5 types of passive aggression: guilt makers, withholders, trivial tyrannizers, jokers, and pseudo-accommodators. Let's look at some examples from Dave and Elise's situation as a couple.
An example of a guilt maker can be seen when someone tries to gain control of a situation by making you feel responsible for the change. This is where guilt is used to control the other person. The act can be communicated directly or indirectly. Withholders can be when you punish your partner by keeping back something valuable, such as courtesy, affection, or humor. To illustrate a trivial tyrannizer is when somebody does small things to drive you crazy instead of confronting you with his or her complaints. A joker uses humor as a weapon and then hides behind the complaint when you object. And an example of the final type of passive aggression, which is pseudo-accommodator, is when you see someone pretending to agree with you but don't comply with your request for change.
The fourth type of conflict style is called indirect communication. This conflict is when the communicator conveys a message in a roundabout manner to save face of the recipient. It involves more initiative than non-assertion. An example of indirect communication can be seen here. Dave and Elise invited a couple for dinner on a working day, which to their dismay lasted too long. Their guests seemed to enjoy the company, and did not appear like they were going to leave anytime soon. Dave decided to stretch his body and yawn so that the couple could get the picture that he would like to call it a day, go to sleep, and be ready for work tomorrow. Too bad for him. It did not look like his guests understood his message. The positive aspects of applying this style is that, number 1, it is often a kinder strategy than being blunt or more direct. 2, it saves the face of the recipient. The third advantage is that in certain situations, being indirect can sometimes save us from getting in trouble, embarrassed, or other unexplainable reasons. And finally, we often find it easier making requests using indirect communication. Do take note that using indirect communication can cause misunderstandings, as the receiver will need to put more effort to correctly understand or infer a message, which might not happen.
A solution to solve conflicts is assertion. In other words, it is to be more assertive. This means to handle conflicts by expressing needs, thoughts and feelings clearly and directly, but without judging others or dictating to them. Being more assertive in a conflict helps maintain self-respect of both parties. Here is an example of how you can apply assertion in a conflict with others. Firstly, describe the person's behavior to the person that you have a conflict with. Next, give your interpretation of the other person's behavior. Then, describe your feelings followed by a description of the consequences. And finally, give a statement of your intention.
When you said I was too critical after you asked me for my honest opinion, it seemed to me that you really didn't want to hear a critical remark. That made me feel stupid for being honest. Now I'm not sure whether I should tell you what I'm really thinking the next time you ask. I'd like to get it clear right now. Do you really want me to tell you what I think, or not?
Conflict is a fact of life in every relationship, and the way conflicts are handled plays a major role in the quality of a relationship. To sum up, there are 5 ways people can behave when faced with a conflict. It can be through non-assertion, direct aggression, passive aggression, indirect communication, or assertion.
Each of these approaches can be appropriate at times, but we should focus on being more assertive because of their value and novelty for most communicators. Bye-bye for now, awesome people.
Until next time, see you.
Created using Powtoon.